June 25th stormwater board meeting to order. Caitlin, will you call roll?
President Saltinian.
Present.
Vice President Olson. Present. Member DeKaiser.
Present. Consideration of minutes. Now review the minutes. There's been a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Citizens' comments. No citizens. Financial report. Yeah, claim register.
There's on track unit expense. The stormwater improvements to the GED, is that the end of the like final payment?
No, we just got a new one today.
Okay.
Will there be one final one after this one, or
Yes.
just the punch list completion one? Because this has some of the end project on it, but not all the punch list items.
Yeah, and the final change order items, so it'll be either onto it. Not this one that we just sent, but the next one will be around 200,000.
Some large ones coming still.
What was that?
There's some large ones coming still, because some of the change order things we did with the roadway and things like that haven't come through yet, so.
Is there like a retainage town holds up to until all of the punch list items are done?
Yes, the punch list retainage amount was 20,000. That's being low.
It's a flat sum, not a percentage.
That's the way it was structured in this contract.
Yeah, basically, a percentage was held, but since we've reached substantial completion, you're allowed to request a release of some of that, and then we only hold the amount that's on the punch list, times 200%, so, yeah.
The state legislature just changed some of the retainage laws last session or the session before, not allowing us to keep that side retainage as we used to.
If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the claims report presented.
I second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Board report.
Yes, I met with Wessler and Eagle Valley to do a punch list walkthrough of the stormwater project areas. I attended the monthly project check-in with Wessler and Eagle Valley. Cody, myself, and then met with Wessler for the monthly check-in. I met with Nancy Sho from Wessler Engineering to review the stormwater quality management plan yesterday, and I'm monitoring 23 homes in Parkview Village and 7 in Rockridge for compliance.
Additionally, we've had that large rainfall that came out in the middle of the night and kind of drove the project areas just because it's a monitoring storm anyways. Even with kind of some of the silt barriers and things that are still in place, things are functioning well, moving water. There was standing water in a lot of places before, so things are looking good.
Old business.
Yeah, so, just an update on the stormwater improvements project. No minutes for you this time, there really wasn't much, at our last progress meeting. So, you know, about the punch list items, we're still waiting. Really, just the last few items that need to be taken care of are because of the conflict with that AT&T conduit. So, AT&T is still waiting on a wire. We have timing from I've reached out to my contact, the contractors reached out to their contact, but we haven't heard a date. So that's really the remaining work. I think they're still monitoring, grass growth to make sure that it's supposed to be 75% of growth before they can take away all the erosion control measures. So the substantial completion date for the project is May 21st, and final completion for the last change order date is July 28th, so we have some time here for waiting on AT&T. They are televising the storm sewers tomorrow, so we'll get those CCTV videos and we'll review them and make sure everything looks good. And then once they get the AT&T items, or the conflict items complete, we'll be able to move into, and we recommend final completion, we'll be able to move into the closeout project process. And so just to explain a few things that we'll be asking them for as a part of that, there'll be a final change order, which we talked about, that will bring quantities up to final, up and down, whatever each line item was will be adjusted, and then there'll be a final payout for the project and a request for release of retainage. Then we'll only close out the project once the contractor provides all the waivers of lien, consent of surety, bond, the record drawings and as-bills, and maintenance bond. So that's kind of the process, the look ahead, I guess. That's my update.
What happens if AT&T doesn't relocate their cable before that July date?
They'll request next time extension to the valuable, and it'll be in the change order.
Is it a time change order or a dollar change order as well?
I would assume just time.
Is kind of what my expectation would be.
Yeah.
So, as Bill said, if it accidentally got broke and they fixed the piping, it would show up, but.
So but you can still close it out with that leftover that was on the county?
Close everything else out, the punch list would have to stay open until that was complete. They would have to have that time extension, so.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. Is there a chance that they may expect us to pay for that?
No, I mean, the work they still need to do was in the contract already.
You're talking about AT&T is,
They just need to finish what they have.
yeah, AT&T, we shouldn't have to charge because their utilities within the right of way.
Yeah.
There's an expectation that they have to move within the right of way of our roadway, so. But Eagle Valley, will pay them for that pipe section.
Was that the one that we talked about that actually run through pipe or something at one time when they started the project? I think it ran through, it was in the line.
I don't think it was that one,
I think,
yeah.
Would Eagle Valley charge like another mobilization fee? It takes 6 months for AT&T to come out here. They have no equipment here.
They haven't mentioned it, but supposedly,
They may ask for it.
yeah.
Probably try to push back on that a little bit, but I would understand them asking for it. We've seen that on other jobs, so. Hoping, since it's such a relatively small excavation and repair, that we won't run into that.
Is that prohibiting anything?
What do you mean?
Not having that piece of storm pipe there, is it prohibiting stormwater flows today?
It's not prohibiting the flow because they have that flex pipe in there, but long-term, it's a liability because it is hard pipe going to that corrugated kind of flex pipe that has a belly in it and is more compressible, and at some point that would fail in the roadway and then cause obstruction issues. So, portion of that with new staff and collections becoming kind of unified between sanitary and stormwater. I have Scott Senefeld here with Veritas Group. He's on letter of agreement with sanitary board right now for owner representation. We went through a selection process with committee of staff and council members and some contractors and things, and we interviewed 6 groups for that. We had recommended going with GM Development, who's also here tonight. We started the preliminary scoping with her. Scott can answer any questions, talk about the project and where we're at, kind of the DOT process. This board's never done a DOT, whereas sanitary the council has. We talked about a little bit. John?
Hi, Scott Sonnenfeld, Veritas Advisors Group. So just as been mentioned, we put together a request for qualifications through the Indiana Code 523 for BOT delivery, build, operate, transfer for the Board of Works building. That immediately went into a selection review process established by criteria. As a result of that, the selection committee has submitted a memorandum of recommendation to move forward with GM development into an actual scoping period. What that scoping period is alignment of design and budget to a guaranteed maximum price. And that's a not to exceed guaranteed maximum price that then will be presented to the town for the project, including the program that's best defined within the budget. At this point, we're just starting the process, so immediately following today will be a schedule outlining through scoping to a GMP for the delivery of the project through construction. So there's no action to actually vote on today, but simply bringing that process before you and introducing GM Development, Dan and Patrick.
Dan Lawson, GM Development, Patrick Davis, GM.
And we'll be back before the boards collectively with a guaranteed maximum price and a BOT agreement at that point. Up to that point, I should say, there's no dollars that have been expended on the town's behalf until you get to a GMP and the process starts shoveling the ground.
Dan, do you want to introduce GM?
Sure.
Yes.
Everyone know this one?
You can rotate, Patrick, you can if you want.
Yeah. So again, Dan Lawson with GM Development. I'm one of the partners in the business, the company. There's 5 of us in the company. GM Development's done about 300 BOTs across the state of Indiana over the last 12, 15 years, just about. Almost $1 billion worth through those 300 BOT projects. So this is all we do. We don't build private stuff. We don't do anything other than municipal BOT. So.
I think they may have more than anybody in the state, my thoughts says, but.
The what?
I think you guys have more BOTs than anybody in the state.
Yeah. Yep.
That experience is one of the reasons selection committee ultimately went with GM. You have to go through competitive scoring process, and they edged out on that. But GM Development is also kind of unique compared to some of their competitors because through scoping phase they go 100% at risk. So they carry whatever disciplines are needed to get to that scope and guaranteed max pricing. And then if for some reason the project wanted to move forward, they would need that, unfortunately.
Right.
But they're very good at this, both from figuring out the financial side, matching budgets, and kind of setting that scope.
So we've never had one not go that got through scope, other than one, and that was due to COVID. COVID squashed that project. So, so you'll see Patrick. He's I'll call him our numbers guru. He'll be involved all the way through the scoping period, as I will as well. Once scoping period is complete and we get you that guaranteed maximum price, Patrick will step away, and then I'll continue on as what we say as a project executive. And we'll attend all the owner, architect, contractor meetings, be in close conversation and coordination with Veritas as well, and Ben and the whole team. So.
One of the main advantages and reasons the town and other boards have liked the build, operate, transfer process more than it does design bid build over the past few years is you get all the trades and professions and contractors and everybody in the room at the beginning of the project. Just design bid build traditionally, you start through the engineering process, bid that out, and then you don't necessarily have your construction team and things working collaboratively with staff and everybody to get to that part. One of the other things is we do like the guaranteed max pricing. If GM's wrong on that price, they eat anything above that cost is the way it works. Normally you don't get into that. Normally what you have is guaranteed savings off the project, because it is open book pricing, they have to provide everything to us, and Veritas verifies all that. So if there's project savings that can be used within the project to add things within the wish list or things that maybe originally we didn't think fit into scope, but we wanted. So we'd be targeting putting this building behind Town Hall next to Streets and Parks Garage, have the utility garage there, mostly because we already own the land and it's relatively set up well from a utility standpoint. Adam Stone and I have been looking at kind of financials. You guys are in a strong position for this project, so it's a sanitary board. There's a chance that we may ask you guys to be landlords, potentially, depending on what financing mechanism works most, where you guys would carry some extra cost up front and actually lease the property to the sanitary portion of that. We're looking at just a variety of financial structures, but in a coming meeting, as we work towards GMP2, Adam Stone and I will present kind of financial options and choices among that. But we want to make sure that we're balancing the load and responsibility between the two utilities appropriate. So storm payers aren't paying more than their fair share and vice versa with sanitary. So.
I know I had a question before when this got brought up, because I know we used to want to like go later, get it done earlier.
Yeah.
And I think we were, correct me if I'm wrong, we talked about 3 days, is that what it was?
We were talking about 5 days, but we were talking through scoping.
And then I said, of course, why aren't we done in 6? So considering that we're rebuilding a comprehensive plan for the next 20 years for the town, when I look at the growth of that, and I consider the building and the space and how quickly we grew out of what we have with just what's going on.
Right.
My concern would have been, would it be financially smarter for us, which would probably be Patrick, to have that extra space in advance now than 10 or 15 years from now when we go, oh my gosh, we grew faster than we had expected. It's here, the growth pattern's here, and now we need that. And it's gonna cost you 3 times more now, 10 years later, than it would have been had we done it today. That's my only consideration for the town. Would be if it's a cost saving, my vote would be to do it today and not wait 10 years and cost the town 3 times as much.
Right. And we can analyze those options as we go through that process and even give you, a lot of times this ends up with a shopping list where we talk about right fitting everything. So we can look at
And
that as well.
I'm just saying that just because we're looking at, I mean, I'm a real estate broker, so I'm looking at just where the values have gone.
Yeah,
And
everything's
now the
better.
federal government is looking at changing the, depreciative values for homeowners are going to double everything, so I'm thinking, wait, if we're doing that today, where are we going to be, and should the town do these things?
Yeah, Chris, and everything you're talking about will be analyzed during the scoping period.
Perfect.
You know, we've looked at things where we've had these questions a lot of times where you say, okay, well, right now, this is the money we have, but we can build this building to be added on to into the future or things like that. So yeah, that would be everything we talk about.
Yeah, talk about maybe making it feasible. We've had meetings with all the utility staff and kind of leadership staff to kind of talk through, making sure we're not missing anything from an operational standpoint, from maintenance, collections, stormwater, to make sure we're actually thinking through that and some of the staff growth. We're trying to look at all our utility infrastructure growth area to figure out as these lines grow, how many people do we actually need to service that? How many jet trucks do we need, back trucks, CCTV trucks, things like that for line inspections and those things. So I think a lot of that will continue to shake out as we actually enter this kind of defined scoping period.
Last point, you've already said it, but the BOT delivery is the best opportunity to really explore those costs before we even put a shovel on the ground.
Just to make sure I understand, so DOT means that GM owns it from beginning to end?
They take on that liability and ownership of it and operate it through that period before transferring it back to the town.
you mentioned throughout the scope period, there's no charge to the town. How far does that get us? I assume that doesn't get us like fully designed construction plans.
So the scoping period, a way to define it is it's a minimal amount of definition to where we can give you confidence that this is what we're getting. So it's how many bays, it's how deep the bays are, how wide the bays are, how many offices, how many restrooms. We're defining a lot of those parameters. We even would have a site plan that shows how it lays out, how the paving works. So it's kind of rudimentary, but it's enough where you can see what you're getting. We put a maximum on it, but there's a lot of fine tuning that can happen from there. We can still explore options of carrying forward an option to add it. We can still keep some of that stuff in the mix and let you guys decide later, if you will.
What percent design would you say that is? That's scope design.
25% plus or minus.
One of the benefits, like to Patrick's point, of BOT too, is that flexibility of not having to go back like a traditional design to build with frequent change orders. You have the flexibility to work within the BOT in that guaranteed max price to do what you need and pivot and be nimble within the project without having to kind of come back and change that because you already have your max price, and as long as you're working within that, it's different than your traditional laws for design bid build.
We'll have a contingency that's there for your use, and we can manage that. And if we didn't need to use any of it, we keep those dollars. Which is part of the upside.
Yeah, there's
It's all transparent.
Right, once the GMP is approved, you will not get a change order from GM Development.
whatever we do at that point, as long as it's within the language of the BOT agreement, it's good. So.
Now, the owner can change stuff they want, they can add, take away, but like I said, you'll never get a change order from our side of the table.
At what point can we not change things? Because I assume you're not going to do 50 revisions for us for free. At what point, is there a set number of revisions we can have?
There's not a hard definition to it. Every project's different. Every process is different. Usually we can, with 3 or 4 passes through this, like we'll do a 5% design, a 10%, a 15%, and we kind of refine it each step of the way as we go through that to make sure we're honing in on the right track and honing to the right budget. And usually we can get to that point, but there's still a lot of decisions that need to be made as we finalize it. But we're really, a big part of this is working with your financial advisor to understand what dollar value makes sense, and then reverse engineering that to how we can best use those dollars for you. And that's really what this process is.
It's really best to think about scoping this not as how many revisions do I get, but how much evolution of the process occurs together. It's really yoking the developer, contractor, design team all together to the direction of the budget, which is defined, right? To say, okay, this is what we're building, and we're scoping to find out what all is made up within that budget that fits in there. And then the last piece is the beauty is in the details, which we've had the opportunity to work alongside with GM on a number of municipal projects together. And the clarity of detail, once we have that number and the design continues, we'll be watching that contingency to the point that if there is dollar savings, that typically comes back to additional scope, right? So we have that ability to see where those dollars are going.
And everything we do, and Scott attests to this, it's open book, it's transparent. You'll see the contractor fees, our fees, you'll see, that's one thing you can't do in a design bid build. You're not gonna get any of that information from your contractor or whoever. So, everything we do is open book and transparent. Veritas, Ben will see all the bids. Once we go out to bid to the subcontractor market, we can use as much local as you want. That's always our goal. Again, you can't do that in a design bid build world. Right? Say, hey, do you have an HVAC contractor that you like? And you say, yes, we want to use them. Well, we can do that. So we can actually negotiate with our trade partners under a BOT that you can't do under any other model. So that's how we're able to get these things in the budget and have good projects, because we can help put the right team together.
And I don't think that Shannon was here when we talked about this project. I think that's something wrong. Who is involved in this project financially, other than coming to Stormwater? It's the town, us,
now it's sanitary and introducing it to storm. Going to talk to the town potentially about having a piece of that, maybe for a little bit of administration and potentially, actually making a section of it, tornado rated. We don't have a tornado rated facility in our complex, and that gives me a little bit of consternation.
Yeah, good one.
What would you say stormwater's, financial obligation will represent to help carry this project? How much are we waiting on this?
Probably have to dig into it a little bit finer, like it'd probably be, it is the minority as far as the impact right now on our current day operations, and just the kind of level of what stormwater maintenance is versus sanitary is a little bit different, because everything's kind of gravity, you know, have lift stations and those things like sanitary, but, like, it's probably an 80-20 or 70-30 split, like just throwing a number out there without actually, this year, would be the 20 or 30.
I'm like, what if we have another big project that happens, or something happens, and I'm not even knowing.
I mean, this is more housing, equipment, and
Yeah.
people, right? So, so it'd be stormwater technician, which we plan on putting that listing out, end of July, beginning of August, and then, at some point, our collections team, sanitary, are probably going to be involved and be with that, stormwater person also, so that, we have the same people cleaning our storm pipes that we are our sanitary pipes, so we're not having two utilities buy the same equipment. When we have basically the same disciplined people, it makes sense to cross-train them and share a little bit of their experience and costs, so.
Would you say that we're, funding 20%?
We're the lower.
It's a
The
20,
lower number is, but, I thought this was being funded through the loan that we.
it would be, but I mean, that's your guys'.
Our 20%.
That's only 20%?
Would come.
Well,
from-
that's what I was saying, it could potentially be, ultimately, that's how much of the project you guys own, but you guys may have more money in it that the sanitary, board leases from you guys.
43%, right?
Yeah, so you may have more finances in the front end, but you'd have to have like a co-lease agreement with the sanitary board. Like I said, you'd be sanitary utilities landlord for a while.
Is that because sanitary might not have all the funds up front?
I think they do have the funding up front, it's just we're evaluating what's probably gonna go the furthest and what kind of does the best with interest and yields for both utilities, trying to balance that out, so.
So we would basically, we have a larger ownership portion.
Potentially, or just, it may not be a larger ownership potential, but you may have more money than your share in it, that they'd be paying back that excess on that, so.
Is there like a preliminary not to exceed budget?
That's really what that scoping is. They put together a very high level after initial meeting. I forget kind of the realm that was in, but it's not really refined. I think total, we were looking, I think that initial number that GM put out was like 3.5 million, something like that. Four, all in, somewhere.
I was letting you share a number you were comfortable sharing.
It's like, I was comfortable putting out Aria's number, but obviously not having worked at GMP, that's a very, very moving target number.
When will we have an idea of what we're gonna have left at our big project? When we close out the.
Pretty soon, I think we could relatively calculate that now, so, because we have punch lists, so.
Yeah, that would be helpful for us.
Yeah. We can add that number pretty easily.
And what happens to the existing facility?
Which existing
Is
stuff?
there an existing maintenance shop right now?
That's streets and parks maintenance back there, so it'd be basically expanding a public works complex for utilities. So, and, the sanitary utility has basically a small storage garage and, a lab, so they don't really have office space and things. And since they demolished gym utilities, where they have one more office, it's even tighter because they're all at one plant now. So, and we're buying heavy equipment that we don't have storage space for, like the sanitary utility very, very tight right now in all of the public works area, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Yes.